Hello, and welcome along to the stream tonight. I hope that everyone is doing well out there. The plan for tonight's stream is to continue working on GitReleaseManager. Last week we got to a point where we had a open PR, we had a draft PR for a new feature in GitReleaseManager, which was allowing the skipping of pre-release releases when doing an export using GitReleaseManager. So we got that to a point where there was an open PR and it got reviewed during the week. So I got that pulled in just before the stream started tonight. So that's that part done. And during the week this week, I have been working away at some of the stuff that was annoying me in GitReleaseManager. So you would have noticed on the stream last week that there was like 100 errors or something in here. So there were some inconsistencies in how the editor config settings were set up in conjunction with style cop, and there was a little bit of conflicts going on. So I spent a little bit of time during the week ironing those out. So it got to the point where I believe I've fixed all of the style cop stroke editor config error messages. So they have now all been removed, which is good. And we're left with just no errors anymore. So that's good, because it was annoying me last week on the stream. Evening Nils, how are we doing today? There are still 123 warnings, which I don't necessarily like, but I'm going to choose them. I'm going to choose to leave them for a different day, because I don't really want to work on warnings. Oh, tonight I can't face it. I'm good, thanks, Nils. Been a bit of a funny old day, but got through it, so that's the main thing. That's about all we can do, right? I was just saying that I'm planning on doing some more GitReleaseManager tonight. There's one specific issue that I would like to address on the milestone, and I'm hoping to get through that tonight. The issue is this one. It's a bit of an old issue. It was raised by Jeffrey Huntley back in 2018. It's one of those that's been on my to-do list for a while, but now seems like as good an opportunity as any to tackle it. So what Jeffrey's saying, or Jeffrey is saying at the minute, if you run GitReleaseManager and you have more than one bad issue in the milestone, so the definition of a bad issue being it doesn't have a valid label associated with it, or it might have multiple issues associated with it, which is not supported at the minute. So what happens currently is it spits out the first one that appears. So it'll say bad issue, blah, and then the error message. And then you fix that one and you run it again, and you may well get the exact same thing happening again because you have multiple issues that are in the same situation. So what Jeff is suggesting is it would be much better to collect all of those issues into a collection and then output them all at once. So rather than run it, get an error, run it, get an error, run it, get an error, you run it and you get a list of errors. So I think it's a no-brainer that we want to include it. So I'm going to label this as an improvement. And it's already on the 0.12.0 milestone, so it's already good to go. So looking at the Evening Maurice, how's it going? How's the 3D printing going? Did you see that? Did you see on the Twitters that Jan's got a 3D printer now as well? I feel that everyone's getting a 3D printer other than me. And I'm entirely jealous of everyone. He said he's got the same model as you, or the same make as you, but not quite the same model. You've known for a while. See, I only found out at the weekend because he mentioned that he was doing something with it. We were talking about chocolate gooey stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I can maybe look at that tonight." I'm like, "Oh, there's no rush for it." And then he sent me a picture of what he was going to be working on instead, then, which was his 3D printer. So, yeah, it seems like everyone's getting one other than me. We have been chatting about this. Nice. See, all you 3D printers. Also, the error message could be better. Happy to take some suggestions on what you think the error message should be, Nils. We can fix that up tonight as well. Yes, I'm not getting one either. I need more. See, that's me as well, Nils. I don't know what I would do with it. But I see Maurice with it. I see Jan with it. Who else? I know someone else on my timeline that I know had one as well. It's just like I could do it. There's space just there. I could have one right beside me. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, so the stack trace. So the stack tracing. There's a related issue to that. So because Kim came up with the same suggestion. And basically what you're saying is find a way to handle scenarios when the application should exit with error, but not a stack trace, i.e. exactly what you're describing there. In this scenario, we know exactly what the error is, so we don't need the stack trace. So we need to find a way to gracefully exit with just the error message that we put out, and then not include the stack trace. So that's definitely something that we need to improve as well, but it's a related issue. I don't think, and that one's on the milestone as well. So if we get this one working, we could then look to gracefully handling that. Because yeah, you're right, we don't need the stack trace in this scenario. But yeah, if we look at the error message just now, it says bad issue blah. So if we search in here for bad issue, then we get to this point. So what it says is bad issue, and then throw new exception. So that's obviously not what we want to do. We want to lose the throw new exception, because at this point we're only interrogating a single issue. So I think what we want instead is, see, this is where I don't know how to handle this, because at the minute we've got a check for valid labels method. Oh, hold on. Is this a rabbit hole? What does that mean? Thank you for shopping. Oh, I see. What have you bought? Oh no, that's from earlier this year. I see. Okay. Very good. What's the bool for? So the bool is so right now what we do, if I get back to it, is here. So we get issues async, and then we loop through all the issues, and we individually check each issue to see whether they have a valid issue associated, a valid label associated with them. So if it's got a valid issue, if the issue is valid, then basically we're enumerating all the issues. We check to see if they're valid. If one or more of them is valid, if one or more of them is valid, we carry on with this merry way. So I think at this point we need to change this method. So this method, I think, needs to. But this is an internal method, right? So this is private to this function. So we could change what this is doing and maybe take all the issues in. Because we either need to within this method, enumerate all the issues and figure out whether they're valid or not, or we need to return something from this function that is the string that represents the error message that needs to be collected to then be thrown, or I don't know. I haven't, because like I say, we could change this to return a string, and that string would be this, but that feels wrong because we would return a string.empty effectively if it's a valid issue. Otherwise, we return this string, and then in here we would collect the if it's not an empty string, we would collect it into a collection and then write the collection. That's the all issues in, and out comes a list of valid issues and a list of errors. Okay, so all issues in, and out comes a list of valid issues and a list of errors. Okay. So, well, hold on. Let's start at the beginning. Let's do git checkout -b feature. What was the number? The number was 113. ph113 from develop. Okay, so we're on a branch. So what you're suggesting is, how do we do this? Let's do this. Go up to here. Enumerable issues. That would be what we're suggesting. It's taking this out. It wouldn't be that at the minute, but let's just do this. So if we were to do this, this would then be enumerating this. Let's leave the return true for them for now. So we check for valid. Let's maybe rename this to be check issues for valid labels. So for each issue in issues, we go through blah, 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 and then we find out that that's here. So what you suggested there was that needs to be in the for each loop, I think, rather than outside it, because we had them before. So up here we would have var valid issues is equal to list of issue. I'm just spitballing at the minute, so if I'm going off east, then feel free to errors equals new list string. So here we would say errors dot add message rather than throw an exception. That one. If included issues count So that was true. Oh, good point. Continue. Yeah. So this was returning true. So here we would be doing, what do I call it? Valid issues. Yeah. Valid issues dot add issue. Then we would kind of irrelevant at that point. And it's telling me so because there's nothing left for it to do. Return false. We don't want that. Right? So what am I returning here? I don't really like tuples, if I'm honest. But hey Manfred, how's it going? Is that a wave emote? Hi. What would I return here? Would I return a class that contains a list of issues and a list of errors? Or would I do something, or would I try to be smarter about it? Create a mini tuple. What's a mini tuple? I feel I need to Google that, but mini tuple. I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest. But if that's what we're suggesting, then I'm okay with it. See, that, I think that's what I prefer, but then I'm like, do I really need? And that's where the toss-up comes between creating a class or, as you say, so one way would be tuple of list of issue and list of string, right? It probably does, but I don't think we're there. I've got the syntax wrong as well, clearly. Oh, really? It's I'm getting the syntax wrong. That tuple. Okay. Oh, hold on. I see what I did. I've got two of them. There we go. I'll get there in the end. Not all cold parts. It doesn't. You're right, because I haven't. So then I actually don't. How do I? So then at the bottom of this, after this, return. Is it as simple as? It's not going to be as simple as this. What's the correct syntax for? Do I need to new up a tuple? I genuinely don't know how to return a tuple. .NET return. Showing my Oh, I do have to do that. Okay. It's coming up as stars on the stream. I don't know why. Morning. Morning? Morning? Seriously? Evening, Kim. How's it going? We're debating just now about whether I'm going against the way of doing things. That's clearly not what I wanted either. Just can't. I should just go to bed, I think, at this point. I'm hacking a hacking robot. That's why. Seriously, what errors are you complaining about? Oh. No. Thought that. But wants another one. Oh no, I'm missing one at the end. Right. Nope. No. Can it implicitly convert type generic list of issue to tuple generic list of issue list of string? Is that? I don't need that then. I think that's what it's telling me. Right. Sorted. Okay. So then we would need var result is equal to that. So then we would say if result dot, this is the part that I don't like, the whole item one in it. That's the part I don't like. If result dot item one dot count is greater than 0, then has included issues is true. But before that, if result dot item 2 dot count because that, so we were just having that discussion, and maybe literally just before you came on, Nils said probably C# latest has a cool feature for that, and you're confirming that that is the case. But what would that require? Because at the minute we target, I can't go with that. See, exactly, Nils. So in here, we went through this last week, didn't we? In terms of what's being what its core. This one. What are we targeting? The targeting at the minute is it not? Oh, is it? This one. Edit project file. Added in C# 7. C# 7. But we're at language version 8. So how does one create a named tuple? tuple field names. So we should be able to do this. So how does one do it? So I'm looking at it. Available in C#7 and later. Let's bring it over. Okay, let's learn something new. Double sum int count. Oh, I see. Okay. So let's bring it up on the screen so that everyone's got this. Everyone can see it. So the example here is double an int, but that's not using the named one. But you're saying if we scroll down, field names, t is equal to count. Here, this is the definition that we're looking at. Okay, so if I go back to here and go up here and say what we want to do then is valid. Oh, now we've got a naming valid. Okay, valid issues, list of string errors. Let's get rid of this. Nope. I don't think you can have the name in the return value. Meaning just this. Okay. You also have a, okay, I think I got that one. Okay, no worries. Okay, so we have this. So then down here, so we're not doing a tuple anymore. We're doing, guess I'm getting confused again. That's not the example I was looking at. The example I was looking at was here. Yeah, something similar to this. Just grab this and return. Let's do, so this would be result. So we would have errors and we would have valid issues, and that would be list of issue, valid issues, list of string, which would be errors, and then we're going to return result. Then it's going to tell me all of that is not. But if I just do return, how do I get the name types though? Or are you saying I just do them on here? Are you saying I just do them here? Forgotten if they were before or after. before or after though? So this would be valid issues. Oh, no. Okay, so I feel I'm overcomplicating this. Hold on, if I go back to here then. No. Where do I get? Where does the name come from? I haven't put the name anywhere. But you're saying I'm not. I don't need anything else. So I'm confused. Like in the method declaration. But what did I miss then? Because Kim said not to put it into the method declaration. But now you're saying in the callee of the method? I'm very confused. Very, very confused. Hold on, let me. Tuple. You can explicitly specify the names of a tuple either in the tuple initialization expression or in the definition of the tuple type, as the following example shows. I said you don't need to. Oh, I see. The one that calls a method can use the names that is wanted. The one that calls the method e.count. Okay, so the method is being called here. So where would I put in the method call that I want them to be named in a certain way? No. Okay, I'm at this point. I should have just created a class because I'm really not following what's been suggested here. So, does anyone have an explicit example that I can look at? Because I'm having a complete senior moment at this point. So this method isn't public. This method is a private method. It's used internally within the release notes builder. It's not exposed anywhere else. Var valid issues var errors is equal to that. Oh. Thank you, Manfred. I'm not sure I like it yet, but okay. Errors.count greater than 0. So if valid issues.count is greater than 0, we're back to there, and then we are turning. And you are not even, well, I am. At this point, I feel like I am. The non-C# guy saved the day. Thank you very much, Manfred. So you don't like deconstructing statements. Terrible language. Me neither. I'm not sure if I like it or not. So this is... Yeah, I don't know. This is very... what was I playing with recently where this was essentially the same thing? This was done in the very same way. This was Python I was playing with. It did something similar, and I didn't like it. Yeah. So what's the other version then? So what did I miss then, Nils? What's the other way of doing this? It maybe was TypeScript. It maybe was in the extension. It might have been in one of the extensions I play with. Add names to the declaration, as in here. So that would have been valid issues, or was it the other way around? Valid issues. No, it's that way around. Errors. Valid issues. Right. And then at that point over here, we would say var result equals that, and then result dot. I think I prefer that way. I'm going to go that way. Yeah. If result dot errors dot count, if result dot valid issues dot, yeah, that's better. So now what we need is a sensible way of formatting an error message that says these are all the errors that occurred. So previously this would have, I've even forgotten what it used to say. Should have kept a hold of that. What did I say? I said that the message was this. Oh, so that's already there. So that's still getting added. Okay, fine. So back up here, we then say previously we're throwing an invalid operation exception with the message. So is it enough to yeah, that's what I don't know. I don't know, Kim. I don't know what I'm going to throw. I don't know if I just write an error and exit with -1. I don't throw an error, but I think that's related to the other issue that you've raised, which is to not raise the stack trace. Yeah, I just don't know how that will format though, Manfred. So my concern is whether we should control the formatting a little bit and own how it gets output. i.e. a new line for each error. So that's what we did before. So I mean, what I'm intending on doing is doing throw new invalid operation exception, not cast exception, invalid operation exception. But I don't know whether result.errors, obviously that won't work, but I'm thinking joining with a new line so that it's at least kind of roughly formatted. So Kim's saying that we should throw a custom. I don't think as yet we have any custom exceptions in GitReleaseManager, or do we? Oh, we have. We've got at least one. So there is a precedence. What would we call said exception? We would call it add class bad issues exception. Naming's hard. Invalid issues. I prefer that. Bad issues sounds bad. Let's do invalid issues exception. Sure. Go too far away from where we are. Or would we want to go a no exception route, i.e. results statements instead? Oh, take issues. No, Android, we're not doing that. Or would we want to go a no exception route? We don't have a precedence for doing that yet. So I think we should just, in terms of what we're trying to achieve here, I think we should just throw an exception as we were before. And then if there's additional, so depending on how we tackle this related issue, we may well have to do something to handle that. But I think that there's more places than the code that we're currently playing with. So in here then, let's handle it this way. Let's do back to here, invalid issues exception. That's going to take that. We're going to take the constructor, and that constructor is going to take a list of string, which are the errors. I'm going to do something with it. We're going to do something with it. I don't know what yet, but we are going to do something. I don't know, but yeah, we're going to do blend base needs to do something with that. Not going to work. Can't call base on the constructor though, can we? So how would that work? Hold on. I basically would agree, but I've seen a railway pattern in C# a couple of weeks ago and nearly had to puke. What looks beautiful in C# is messed up fugly in C#. Okay, using exception as a control flow feels wrong, but it's easy. True, which is one of the things I like about Rust, where exceptions do not exist. Sure, there are panics though, but shouldn't be used as a runtime failure. Right? So what I'm hearing is at some point we want to not. So at the minute, all of our methods are voids. So what I'm hearing is that at some point, all of those voids will be changed to have a result class, and that result class will have an exit code, error messages, etc. And then we use those to determine whether it exited successfully or not. I have no problem with that. But in terms of what we're looking at just now, which is to allow the collating of error messages on issues, I don't think the discussion about using exceptions for control flow is necessary. I think that should be handled separately. And I don't disagree with any of that, Manfred. I'm just saying that where we are right now, exceptions are being used to exit when there is an exception. So without completely refactoring all the code, I don't think we can step away from that. Does that make sense to everyone? Or are we going to start, are we changing stuff? Are we changing a lot more than what was intended for this issue? What's the agreement or disagreement? Because as of right now, okay. So then, if getting rid of the exception though, we should probably need to refactor to implement some logging to at least mention that something happened and couldn't proceed. Yes, agreed. I think you do, Manfred. I think you do. Okay, in terms of what I want to do next, I'm not sure how to do it. Can I? That won't let me get to that. So get to. Oh, hold on. I said there. Okay. I think there is a shortcut to create exceptions. What sort of shortcut? I like shortcuts. Oh, okay then. As in here. Oh, okay. As in this. That's useful. Sure, I could have typed that as well, which would have saved some changes. That style cop happy. Okay. So what we're doing when we are back to here, we are then going to say That's a good one. I didn't know about that one. I didn't know about that snippet, so that's a good one to know about. So that was just exception, and then tab, and it spat it out. So what do we think about that then? So we've gone from modifying or verifying a single issue and throwing an exception to validating all issues, and based on the result, which is a name tuple, if there are non-zero number of errors, we throw an invalid issues exception, which writes out all the errors. Otherwise, if the valid issues count is greater than 0, then we have included some issues. So I think we could maybe simplify this a little bit, because that's just this. So we could move the need for that. So tidy this up a little bit. And then we can move this guy. What are you complaining about? But it's telling me it can it's telling me that it can be deconstructed. So it's going to want me to. Yeah, you see. Ooh. Oh, hold on. Let's do that. No, I'm not sure if I like that either. That's what we did before. No, undo that. Don't know. I might undo that. Snippets, yes. Or live template inviter. I'm going to undo that deconstruction. Okay, so what do we feel about this? I'm feeling okay. So apart from the whole issue discussion around exceptions not for control flow, given that that's a bad practice, I think what we've done here satisfies the immediate need, which was raised by Jeffrey, which was to output all of the bad issues. But aren't live templates more powerful than snippets? Do we need that if? As in this if? Well, otherwise we're returning the actual list of issues. So yes, I think we do. How would we? You're talking about this if. If there are no issues assigned to the milestone that have a label that is part of the labels to include array, then that is essentially the same as having no closed issues assigned to the milestone. In this scenario, we want to raise an error, so return an empty issues list. Oh, I see what you're saying. To then just return an empty list of issues. I see. So what we did before, oh, now you're making me think. So previously, yeah, that's not going to be, hold on. I think we've maybe broken something. Hold on. Let me have a wee think about this. So previously, within this function, we were returning true if included issues count is greater than 0, we return true. Yeah, I think I've broken something here. Or have we? what did we have here before? So Manfred is coughing at me. Something regarding GitLens. GitLens supercharged. Which lets me do what? Which lets me do the equivalent of this, right? So check the link first. So you sent me 2 links though. Vimagit. What is Vimagit? Ease your Git workflow with Vim. From a very simple Vim buffer, you can perform main Git operations in a few key presses. To name a few, visualize all diffs in your Git repository. No, I don't think so. Vim Git. So I have the Vim plugin for code. I don't have it for Visual Studio. But I would also consider myself a noob at Vim. So I don't think I'm at the point where I would want to combine Vim and Git at the minute. I think I have Git history and stuff. All of these are inside Visual Studio Code. We're not in Visual Studio Code right now. So I think I have that extension installed. But anyway, I'm still not convinced that we've not broken something here. So we went from check for valid issues. If check for valid issues returned true, which was if included issues count is greater than 0, we return true. The included issues count was equal to 0, and then for each label, then we plus equaled it. And if it was greater than 0, return true. So we changed that to be if included issues count is greater than that, then we add it to the valid labels issue, the valid issues collection, and we return that entire collection. So then what we said was then what we were saying here was if it's that, we said has included issues equal true. So if it was returning true, then what we said, essentially what that means is that this is greater than 0. So we set it equal, okay, no, it's fine. Okay. That's the error. You're not in VS Code. Okay, fine, man. Correction, I meant git graph, not git history. Okay, I'm not sure about that one. Let me have a check. Let me have a quick check. I have some installed. So I don't have git history installed. I don't have git graph installed, and I don't have git lens installed. I have none of these installed. So git graph. So now you're doing it correct. Rebasing for the win. So I'll come back to my collection of Git. Oh, where's my internet gone? Oh, my internet's gone. So obviously the YouTube video is still going to be recording at this point. Where's my internet gone? Is everybody back? My internet went away for a little walk there. Oh, that's weird. My internet definitely went because there's maybe a slight delay. There's drop packets all over the place there for a second. So I wonder if there was some sort of time lapse happening. Anyway, I was saying that we're outside of Visual Studio and I think we're okay here. So a test would be to see whether the unit tests are still passing. So if we were to go here and do a rebuild, that cannot be true. Your internet was still, well, I don't know what to tell you. I had drop packets when I did a wee test there. Interesting. Because I did a wee ping and I was getting request timeouts. I don't know whether we're that. I don't know, Nils. That's a very good point. All packets are equal, but some are more equal than others. Did you see the one on Twitter? There's somebody put up a meme the other day where it was a completely broken apart. I think it was a MacBook. It was literally torn away. It was separated. It was broken completely. And other was it was DNS. It was funny. It made me chuckle. So are we going to say that this passes the unit tests or not when it gets to the unit test stage? What do we think? Is that the one that, what's this? Twitter.com. That's the one. Oh, it wasn't. It was a switch then of some description. It wasn't a. I remembered it as a laptop that had been buckled, but clearly it's not. It was that this is the one that I saw before, and it was just the message was it was DNS. There we go. Look at that. Made me chuckle. What's Q? Kim, I don't know what that is. Let's bring this one over as well while we're waiting on the build. Sure. Do I have a DNS problem? Is it DNS? Yes. Check DNS for bad records. Is the issue resolved? Yes. It's always DNS. You obviously missed something. There we go. Indeed. Critical user error. Huh. No, I've not heard of that one before. So we're just away to start the unit test. Let's see if this passes. I like that too. Oh, we had a failed test. That's a good sign and a bad sign. Newest sticker in my collection. I quite like that one. 0 days since it was DNS. Like, it's quite funny. So unit test failed. 15 failed. Oh, so we are looking for that. Well, that's a good sign and a bad sign then. So let's go up to the, where was the first one? So we will need to modify the unit tests then. Yep, I know who Jen is. I haven't met her, but I'm familiar with her. There's lots. Oh, because of different. These are the same ones. I'm scrolling for no need, but I was just going to. It's just for the different instances. So, correctly executed issues. Let's have a look. Assert true. No closed issues have been found for milestone 1, 2, 3, and all assigned issues are meant to be excluded from the release notes, aborting the creation of the release. That's interesting. I think we've broken something. So there was at least one error. This one. I'll look for this one. Assert that the inner exception is of type. So this one failing makes sense. Test this. Let's take one at a time. So we are in GitReleaseManager test, which is this one, and then in here we then have this one. Come on. This one. So here we can run this again and then make sure it's the right one. So this should not be that anymore. This should be invalid issues exception. That will need to be referenced. Beautiful. And then if we run that again, no commits, wrong issue label. I mean, we can debug it if you would prefer, but so if we were to do this and do this, we were going, whoa, wrong button. Wrong, doesn't like that button. We create a new issue, and then we step into that accept test, and we step into here. So at this point we have 0 commits, and then if we step into that and we come down here, then we get to the here, I would think. And then at this point, if we step into this, then, in fact, you know what, let's just get to here, and let's get to here. So at this point, result has errors, and that error is bad issues expected to find a single label with either a breaking change, boom, because the issues that came in were a single one that had a label which was test, and it expected it to have, yeah, that makes sense to me. So then that threw an exception, and then that got asserted as true. So the other failing tests were, the other one that we started looking at was no commits, some issues. So if we do the same thing here, and we debug this one, what's the renovate issue that you posted now? Oh, look at you. Ooh, look at you. Look at you. I should put that into the chat as well. So Nils seems to be working on a new addition for Renovate, which is support for Cake, in the same way that Dependabot has an open PR for supporting Cake. Oh, hold on. It's already there. Look at that. That didn't take them long. Oh, I might have to switch to Renovate now. That's more reason to switch. So the result has 3 valid issues, 0 errors. So why would that fail? Valid issues count is greater than, so we're returning an empty list. Issues that count as 0. No closed issues. Throw in an invalid exception. That's obviously not what's expected by that test. So where did the test? The test expected that. That one? No commits, some issues. Sacrilege! I haven't tried it out yet. So in this scenario, yeah, so we have broken something. So in this scenario, there are issues that are bug, feature, and improvement. So each of those are valid labels. So in that scenario, this test should return true just to make SonarLimp happy. So this except test shouldn't throw an exception at this point. But currently, if we do that again, feel free to poke me to talk about. I will. I mean, it's on my list of. It is literally on my list of things to take a look at. But realistically, when I would get to that point, I've got no idea. So it doesn't have any errors, but at this point, it's saying valid issues. I think that test is wrong, but in my head, I went through it all, and but this is clearly not right. So I think what Nils was suggesting was but if that's the case, then I think what you suggested before was valid then, and we just return result.valid issues. Well, the old code was a kind of commingling of an individual if statement for the for each loop. I don't. So why do you say no to that? So, oh, so issues is the entire list. Issues is the incoming list. Valid issues are ones that have been proven to be valid. Valid is those with valid labels. Correct. So what is this trying to get issues async? Oh, I see. I see. I see. If there are no issues assigned to the milestone that have a label that is part of the labels to include array, then that is essentially the same as having no closed issues assigned to the milestone. In this scenario, we want to raise an error, so return an empty issues list. So, I see. So what you're suggesting is this. If the valid issues count is less than 1, which is the inverse of what we were saying before, then we say there are no valid issues, so we return an empty list. Otherwise, we return the incoming list. Okay. So back to my tests, and back into here, and we say, run this guy then. So maybe valid issues is not really correct. It's issues with valid label is maybe what we should call it. Okay, so that one returned there. So let's go back to here and say, can I do that? So I'm going to rename this as all issues. And then result dot result dot maybes. Let me mull that one. Issues with valid label. So then we go back to where this was used, which was here, and then this becomes that. If not, issues with valid label dot any. Okay. So then test explorer. Let's run. If one issue is not valid, an error. Yes, correct. That's this one. So this is an invalid issues exception. Okay, let's go back up to here and run those again. So we had some issue. We had some tests that we were able to provide some regression on. So that's good. That's a good sign. Okay, so let's go back to test run finished. Let's go back up to here and let's run that in its entirety and see what that does. So this change that you made to renovate, or you suggested to renovate, is this now live? Oh, it looks like it maybe is. This PR is included in version. This release is available on GitHub release. Oh, look at that. It seems to. It's included in 24.114.0. So I don't know how you tell if what version renovates. Yeah, literally, yeah, 3 minutes ago. Well, I haven't refreshed my page. It says 3 minutes ago on my machine. Is there a charge for renovate if you start using it lots and lots? Using renovate. Renovatebot.com. Earn contact. Doesn't seem to suggest that there is a price for it. Interesting. We've only just added Dependabot to a bunch of repositories. don't really want to have to go and change all of that, to be honest. But maybes. And that would do away with your custom version that you were running as well, Nils, correct? Or would that include the? Yeah, that would do away with the custom instance of the Dependabot that you're running specifically for cake scripts. So that would remove an additional workflow that we have on some repositories. Interesting. Is dependabot mentioned? Bot. No, it didn't mention it. It's not something I'm going to immediately jump over to, but if enough folks start using it, then maybe's I. So I guess if this works, then maybe what we need is to be able to have another test. If there's not already one, we should have another test that looks at the output. So we already have a test that is throwing a bad issues exception. So should we make an additional assertion as to the contents of that to see what the string is? Throws aggregate exception, create issue with test. No commits wrong issue label. No, some commits wrong issue label. So should we have another test that is public void no commits wrong multiple wrong issue label? Word naming's hard, but if we were to do this and say we could do another create issue here to test. Missing closing one. So this test should also error, but then we could look at the inner exception to see if there are two responses in it. Let's see if this passed. Let's put breakpoint there and debug it, and let's see what the inner exception looks like. That's fine. So the exception got inner exception has got, look at that, bad issue, blah, expected to find a single label with either, expected to find a single, there's a bit of duplication in there, but it is listing them all out. So how would, what would be a valid validation to say that it contained two lines? Is that even a valid thing to assert on? Assert dot that exception dot inner exception dot message dot Valid, yes. Good, maybe not. I mean, what's going through my head is splitting on environment.newline and validating that it's 2. But I think I would add the list to the exception. Oh, I see what you're saying. And then we could assert on the number. So what you're saying is, so we would come into here and we would say property would be list of string which are errors. That would need to be generic. And then yeah. So in this case, we would take the list of string that are the errors, and then errors is equal to errors. We would augment this, putting this here, I think. And then put error here, and we would put, oh, that's not going to work, is it? No. That's not what we want at all. Do you want though is errors? What are you complaining of? That's fine for now. Errors equals errors. That's complaining because formatting either. Do the formatting either in the exception. What does that mean, Nils? What do you mean by that part? Can you elaborate on that point? Missed the second. I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what you're getting at all. Thank you. Exception. Yes, do the formatting in the exception or in program.cs. We haven't touched program.cs yet, so I'm not following. I would probably do the formatting of the message in the exception for now. You're talking about the string.join that I'm currently doing, or you're talking about something else? I would go for the program.cs in this case for formatting the exception to the user. How would one do that though? What yeah, how would one do that? Or does that speak to the next part, which is the changing of the control flow away from the exceptions? For now, the assertion that I could then make is that exception list and as in message equals errors dot join environment dot new line, and then errors dot join string dot join errors is what you're referring to. I got there in the end. It's read only. Can't do that. Won't let me do that. So that's a no-go. Call this call. Can do that. Of course I can. I see what you're saying. Right. Done, I think. So then, if we go over here, then we should be able to say exception as invalid. Okay, let me come back to that. Let's do this dot errors dot count should be assert that this is equal to 2. Cannot convert. Oh, it's exception dot inner exception. Nope. Int to bool assert that you can make that assertion in the first one, combining the different assertions together. Assert that something. Oh. There we go. Why would I want to convert them into a single? You can make that assertion in the first one, combining the different assertions together. As in do an and? I'm not sure if I want to. Or are you saying that I can do like a dot? I'm not sure if I want to do that. That dot and. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Or do I? I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. But go back to Nil's point, what he was saying is I need to have an empty constructor here that then does just that. Because it's expected that I'll be able to do that. But I'm also not calling that yet, am I? So where was I calling that? So it's now going to cause me an error. So if we just pass in errors there, then I think we're back to here. And then let's do another run of this one. I think you can add and has count of 2 in the first one. I'm not sure if I like that though, Kim. I would probably. I mean, I don't think I wrote this test, but I think I would probably prefer individual assertions. Did that work? It's still running. I think I need to debug it. What time of day is it? Oh, we're getting close. I should put this up together as I should put this together as a PR soon and send it up. So throws an exception. Beautiful. Count is 2. Look at that. Okay. And then we'll finish this off with copy, paste, some commits, multiple issues. So let's say 5 commits, and let's do create issue 3, Bob. Yeah, missing that, and then this is equal to 3. Run. See what it does. and if we get this up as a PR, it's kind of at a natural stopping point, I think. So we might have a quick chat about what's next on the list. I don't think I clicked the button there. Try again. Waiting for this one to go green. Look at that. Okay. So into here, and into here, and we will say what we're doing. Let's add this, and we'll say what is the issue number? The issue number is 113. What do we do? Select all errors, all invalid issues together, rather than throw an exception, rather than throw one exception. No, that's not what I'm trying to do there. When there are issues that contain invalid issues, rather than throw a single exception for the first problem, throw an exception that contains information about all the problematic issues. This saves the end user from having to run GRM multiple times, fixing issue at commit. This 3 update unit tests for new function. We are now throwing a specific exception tired. We are now throwing a specific exception rather than an invalid operation exception. Also added new tests to assert the correct number of errors returned in the new happy days. Get origin. Oh no, let's do this. GHPR create. Do it properly. Where should we push that branch? We're going to push the branch to my fork, creating pull request title. So the title is going to be gh-113, and we're going to say what's it going to be? Turn errors for turn all issues errors body is going to be E. I'm going to say that maybes. I probably should have. I'm just going to borrow the commit message. Provide general summary in the title above, description, this related issue fixes sign 113. This makes it much easier for working through problematic issues and prevent the need to run VRM multiple times. How has this been tested? New unit tests have been added and existing tests have been exercised, validated. Checklists go over the following points. I have updated the documentation. I have read that. Yes. Yes. Happy days. Back to here. Submit. I'm going to continue in the browser because I'm going to update the 113. So we request there and create a pull request. On Windows, it also said what is the environment. Oh, did it? It said what now? Or did I delete something? Let me check. I maybe missed. I maybe didn't read properly. Let's see, did it? Please include the details of the changes and test how your changes. Okay. Windows. I've got video proof of me testing it. Okay, so that's that done. But have you seen? Oh, that's for pull requests. Have I spoken to you yet, Kim, about the new functionality that comes in issues on Cake? Have I spoken to you about this yet? If I haven't, it's a bit remiss of me, and we need to have a chat about it. But if you go to new issue now and say bug report, have you seen this? You can now do issue templates where you can have checkboxes and drop-down lists and required fields and all sorts of clever stuff on issues. So you can kind of force them to fill in the things correctly now. I wondered whether this would be useful for. So I might be able to get it added to repositories. I'm not guaranteeing that, but I'm saying that I might be able to. Would this be useful for the package requests repository? Would it be helpful there? Because this was Pascal that put this together, and it's done in there's a new config.yaml. No, where's the bug report? It's a YAML file that you can create it. Yes, that's the one I was referring to. Yes, the Choco package request repository on Chocolate Community. I will make a request to see if we can get it added, because I think this would be a good fit for the workflow that you've got in action over there. So leave that one with me. In terms of GitReleaseManager, I think the next one I was going to tackle was this one. Cannot create empty releases without a milestone or input file path. So I think there's a little bit, you have to have something, I think, or no. Yeah, so yes, delete, disable the non-template. Yes, absolutely. So I think the next one that I was going to look at was cannot create empty releases without milestone or input file path. That's the next topic that I'm going to tackle on stream. That'll be next week if I don't get to it during the week. Not in that repository. Only templated issues should be allowed. Yes. Yes. Agreed. Because then it'll be much easier for your workflow, I think, to pick up on. Certainly, if you use the drop-down list, it'll be much easier to pick up on what's been determined as opposed to however it's being done at the minute. So I think this has been useful tonight. Pull request is up for review. So in terms of what we did tonight, as a quick recap, spent a bit of time on GitReleaseManager, working through an open issue that's been open from 2018, which was to collate together all of the errors for issues, as opposed to only ever returning one issue and then having to run GitReleaseManager again to get another issue. Collect them all together, output them as an exception, and have it all written out to the console output. It raised a bigger discussion about how we handle the control flow with exceptions and whether we should move away from that and instead have error code responses to then be able to, but that's a complete rewrite of lots of things. So that was a different discussion that we went off on. But I think for now, this was a good addition. And like I say, going forward, there's at least another couple of ones that I want to target, and then we might get to a point where we can ship a 0.12.0 sooner rather than later. So that's all I have for tonight, I think. Thank you to everyone in the chat room who joined in. Appreciate it as always. If you get a chance, Kim, to have a review of that, that would be great. The other thing I wanted to mention just quickly was have been making some inroads into have been 100. You're probably right. I'll see that where we're now. Have been making some inroads into Chocolatey GUI. So Chocolatey GUI's got a couple of new features going into it. We've also made a decision to bump the .NET framework version that Chocolatey GUI's using. So Chocolatey GUI at the minute targets, don't even start with me, Manfred, don't even. Chocolatey GUI currently targets .NET 4.5.2, but there is a requirement, or there was a request for Chocolatey GUI to be able to support per monitor DPI, and according to Jan, we can only do that if we go to at least 4.6.2. So if we're going to 4.6.2, we'd be as well going to 4.8, let's be honest. So the decision has been made to do that. So there's some work to bump Chocolatey GUI runtime.NET Framework version to 4.8. That will enable high DPI support in Mat apps, which will then make everything work. So there's some changes afoot, and there's already been some functionality went in for certain things, like providing the ability to search on features and settings now. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's now a little, oh, I thought I had it maybe in the PR. So the features list now has a little search box beside it, so you can search for one of these features just by name and it'll filter it down to that. There was a growing number of features in this list and it was getting hard to find them. I also alphabetized them, so they're now ordered based on the name of the feature. So again, they're easier to find. So Jan tidied up the attempt that I'd made for that. So yeah, there's some I'm not going to call them exciting, but there are functionality going into the the next release of Chocolatey GUI, and I've started adding features that I want or issues that I want in the next release. So that's kind of why you may have seen it on Twitter. I put a question out as to what do you want Chocolatey GUI to have in the next release. Manfred said it needs to be faster. Yeah, obviously, but baby steps. Would bringing the no, it wouldn't. I don't know if you saw this. You maybe did. That's maybe where it comes from. I wrote this blog post and I went through the different what it used to look like. So this was the first version of Chocolatey GUI. Then it morphed into this. Then it morphed into this. So this was the original WPF version with the chocolatey colors in it. Then it went to this with the tilting icon, which was amazing. I loved the tilting icon. And then the tilting icon got taken away. And then we got tile view by default. So it's I assume Vista is not supported for Chocolatey GUI. Why? Is this with regard to high DPI stuff? Because Jan pointed me to something that where was it? Oh, I see what you're saying. So we are starting to. So are you what? So are you telling me that .NET Framework 8.0 or 4.8 only exists on only runs on certain operating systems? Is that what you're telling me? Or is that even better? Let's bring this over. .NET Framework system requirements 4.8, right? Hardware requirements, installation requirements, be installed with the operating system, installable separately. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is Vista. I see. Okay, so Vista doesn't support 4.8. I think that's okay. Yeah. How long has Vista been? Is Vista out? Vista is out of support now, isn't it? Has to be, isn't it? Vista's out of support. Please tell me that's right. Good. Okay. Vista is dead for me. Right. Okay. Good. So we're on the same page. I think that's okay. I wasn't aware of that explicit. I didn't realize that it wasn't available on there. But Windows 4.8 and .NET Framework 4.8 is available on Windows 8.1, and then the later versions of Windows 10, which is to be expected, and then it came out of the box with Windows 10 November 2019. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I saw not on 8.0, and that's why I went up and scrolled up, because I was surprised by that. But yes, that makes sense too. At some point, that will happen. Yes, I mean that's on the roadmap, Manfred. We are planning on changing the base .NET framework at some point. Yes, baby steps. Probably not going to jump to .NET 5 to straight away. No, there's too many moving parts. I think as an interim, we should have a full fat .NET framework version with a newer baseline, and then look to go .NET 5 or more realistically .NET 6 at that point. Will that be before or after Win 3.11? I don't understand what that means. I don't understand what that is referencing. What's 3.11? If I'm missing something, I apologize. It's getting late. I'll wait for a response, and then I'm going to hang up, go to bed. It is nothing. 10, 15, 20, 100, 100. I'm so confused. Very confused. But to answer your question, at some point, yes, we will be changing the base .NET Framework version for Chocolate components. For Chocolate GUI, it came about because of this high DPI requirement, and I think that will set the precedence for other components. You've mixed up Windows version with .NET version. If I did, I didn't mean to. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. Anyway, that's me for tonight. I will speak to you all on the Tinternets, and hopefully back here next Monday for more Git Release Manager. For now, God, I took the phone. I'm sorry, didn't mean to. Anyway, I'm done. I shall talk to you all later. Enjoy the rest of your evenings and stay safe. Bye bye.